My brother-in-law accused me of stealing his $15,000 Rolex at his wedding reception in front of 100 guests, called the police on me, and started a social media campaign to destroy my reputation. When the watch was found in his car weeks later, he refused to apologize and my wife still took his side over mine. I never thought I would be writing this post, but here I am at 2 a.m., unable to sleep after what happened at my brother-in-law's wedding reception 3 weeks ago. My wife Becca, 32F, and I, 34M, have been married for 8 years, and we have 2 kids together, Millie, 6F, and Troy, 4M. Let me start with some background about my relationship with Becca's family. Her younger brother Sebastian, 29M, has always been the golden child in their family. He works as a financial advisor at some big firm downtown and makes good money. Their parents, Linda, 58F, and Robert, 61M, have always made it clear that Sebastian can do no wrong. When we got engaged, Robert pulled me aside and told me I better take good care of his daughter because she could have done better. That should have been my first red flag. Becca and I met in college when we were both studying business. I ended up switching to education and became a high school math teacher. The pay is not great, but I love my job. Robert never let me forget that I make less money than Sebastian. At every family gathering, he would make comments about teachers not being real professionals or ask when I was going to get a real job. Becca would tell me to ignore him, that he meant well. Sebastian got engaged to his girlfriend Jessica, 27F, about 2 years ago. Jessica comes from money. Her dad owns several car dealerships across the state. From the moment they announced their engagement, Linda started planning this massive wedding. The budget was apparently close to $80,000. Linda would constantly compare their wedding plans to our wedding, which was much smaller and simpler. She would say things like how nice it was that Sebastian found someone who could give him the wedding he deserved. The wedding itself was beautiful. It was held at this fancy country club that probably costs more per plate than I make in a week. Becca was a bridesmaid, so she was busy most of the day with wedding party duties. I spent most of the ceremony chasing our kids around and trying to keep them quiet. During the cocktail hour, Sebastian came up to me and started talking about his new Rolex watch. It was a wedding gift from Jessica's parents, apparently worth about $15,000. He kept showing it off to everyone, talking about how it was a limited edition model. I complimented it because what else do you say, but honestly, I cannot imagine spending that much money on a watch. The reception was in full swing when things went sideways. I had just finished dancing with Millie when Sebastian started yelling across the room. He was standing near the head table, looking around frantically. Jessica was trying to calm him down, but he was getting louder. Then he pointed directly at me. Sebastian marched over to where I was standing with the kids and started accusing me of taking his watch. He said he had left it on the head table when he went to take photos outside with Jessica. When they came back, it was gone. He claimed I was the only person he saw near the table during that time. I told him I had not been anywhere near the head table. I had been on the dance floor with Millie, then went to the bathroom, then got drinks for the kids. Several people heard this conversation because Sebastian was not keeping his voice down. Becca came rushing over from across the room, still in her bridesmaid dress. Instead of defending me, Becca immediately started asking me if I was sure I had not picked up the watch by mistake. She kept saying maybe I moved it without thinking. I could not believe she was questioning me instead of supporting me. The whole wedding party was now gathered around us, along with most of the guests. Robert appeared out of nowhere and got right in my face. He said he always knew I was trouble and that teachers like me were just jealous of successful people. He said I probably took the watch to sell it because everyone knew teachers do not make real money. Linda was crying and saying how I had ruined Sebastian's special day. Jessica's parents looked horrified. Her father actually stepped between Robert and me, telling everyone to calm down. But the damage was done. The entire reception had basically stopped to watch this drama unfold. The band had even stopped playing. Sebastian demanded I empty my pockets right there in front of everyone. I refused because I had done nothing wrong. This made him even more angry. He said if I had nothing to hide, I would prove it. Becca was begging me to just show everyone my pockets to end this nightmare. I finally agreed, just to make it stop. I pulled out my wallet, keys, phone, and some mints. No watch. Sebastian was not satisfied. He said I must have hidden it somewhere else or given it to Becca to hold. He wanted to search Becca's purse too. That was my breaking point. I told Sebastian he was out of line and that I was not going to stand there and be treated like a criminal at his wedding. Becca grabbed my arm and whispered that I was making it worse. But I had reached my limit with her family's treatment of me. Robert called me pathetic and said a real man would not act this way if he was innocent. He said I was probably planning to pawn the watch to pay for my kids' school clothes. The entire room was watching this happen. I saw people recording with their phones. Millie started crying, and Troy was hiding behind my legs. Security at the country club finally intervened. They suggested everyone take a break and look for the watch calmly. Jessica was mortified and kept apologizing to her parents. Sebastian was still convinced I had taken it, but he could not prove anything. We ended up leaving the reception early. The car ride home was silent except for Millie asking why Uncle Sebastian was yelling at Daddy. Becca did not say much, just that we would figure it out later. But I could tell she was embarrassed and angry. The next day, Becca's entire family was blowing up our phones. Sebastian was demanding I return his watch. Linda was crying about how I had destroyed her son's wedding day. Robert left a voicemail saying I had 48 hours to return the watch before he called the police. Becca finally talked to me that evening. Instead of being outraged about how her family treated me, she kept saying that maybe there was some misunderstanding. She suggested I call Sebastian and apologize for the confusion, just to smooth things over. When I asked what I should apologize for, she said for making a scene at his wedding. I could not believe what I was hearing. I had not made the scene. Sebastian had accused me of theft in front of 100 people. But Becca kept insisting that I should take the high road and be the bigger person. She said her family was emotional because of the wedding stress and they would calm down eventually. But they did not calm down. Sebastian posted on social media about how someone had stolen his wedding gift and ruined his special day. He did not name me directly, but everyone who was at the wedding knew what he was talking about. Linda shared the post and added comments about how some people cannot stand to see others succeed. Several of Becca's cousins and friends started commenting with angry faces and asking what kind of person steals from a wedding. My phone started buzzing with notifications as people tagged me in the comments. Some of Becca's high school friends were messaging me directly, asking if the rumors were true. A few people from my work saw the posts because they are friends with Becca on Facebook. My principal even called me on Monday to ask if everything was okay because he had heard some concerning rumors. Becca deleted the tags and asked her family to stop posting about it, but the damage was done. Everyone in her social circle now thinks I'm a thief. When I go to the grocery store in our small town, I notice people looking at me differently. Millie's friend's mom was weird with me at school pickup. The whole situation has become this dark cloud hanging over our family. The worst part is that Becca still has not fully supported me. She keeps saying she believes me, but then adds that I should have handled the situation differently. She thinks I should call Sebastian and try to work things out man to man. Every time I bring up how hurt I am by her family's accusations, she changes the subject or says we should not dwell on negative things. 3 weeks have passed, and nobody has found the watch. Sebastian is still convinced I took it. Robert actually did call the police, but they told him there was no evidence of a crime and they could not do anything. This somehow made him even more angry because he said it proved the system was broken. I have been sleeping in the guest room because Becca and I keep fighting about this. She wants me to go to her family's Sunday dinners like nothing happened, but I refuse to sit at the same table as people who think I'm a thief. She says I am being stubborn and making the family situation worse by staying away. Last week, Millie asked me why we do not visit Grandma Linda anymore. I did not know what to tell her. Becca got upset with me for not having an answer ready. She said I was putting her in an impossible position between her family and her husband. I love my wife, but I am starting to see her differently. When push came to shove, she did not stand up for me. She believed her brother's accusation enough to ask me to prove my innocence in front of everyone. Even now, she acts like this is some minor family disagreement instead of a serious attack on my character. I do not know what to do anymore. Part of me wants to demand an apology from Sebastian and her parents before I will have anything to do with them again. But Becca thinks that will just make things worse. She keeps saying time will heal this situation, but I do not see how when her family still believes I'm guilty. How do I move forward from this? Am I wrong to expect my wife to defend me against false accusations from her family? Update 1: A lot has happened since my original post, and I wanted to update everyone who offered advice and support. The situation has gotten much worse, and I discovered some things that completely changed how I view this whole mess. First, the watch situation. About 2 weeks after my original post, Jessica's younger sister found the missing Rolex. It was in Jessica's car, wedged between the passenger seat and center console. Apparently, Sebastian had taken it off during the car ride to their hotel after the reception because it was bothering him, and it slipped down into the crack. When Jessica called to tell us they found it, I waited for the apology that never came. Sebastian sent a text message saying he was glad the watch turned up and that we could all move past this now. No apology for the accusations. No acknowledgement of what he put me through. Just a casual message like he was updating me about the weather. Becca was relieved and kept saying how great it was that everything worked out. When I pointed out that nobody had apologized to me, she said I should be happy the truth came out and not focus on grudges. She actually used the word grudges, like wanting an apology for being falsely accused of theft was somehow petty. Linda called the next day, but instead of apologizing, she launched into this speech about how the whole situation was unfortunate and how families need to stick together during difficult times. She never once acknowledged that they had wrongly accused me. She ended the call by inviting us to Sunday dinner like nothing had happened. Robert has not contacted me at all. According to Becca, he feels bad about what happened but does not know how to approach me. Becca keeps hinting that I should reach out to him first, which is absolutely not happening. But here is where things get really interesting. Remember how I mentioned that several people at the wedding were recording the confrontation with their phones? Well, one of Becca's cousins posted a video on TikTok. It was not the full argument, but it showed Sebastian pointing at me and yelling, and you could hear Robert calling me pathetic in the background. The video went viral in our local area. It got shared in several Facebook groups for our town and surrounding communities. People were commenting about how awful it was to accuse someone of theft at a wedding without proof. Some comments were supporting me, but others were taking Sebastian's side, saying I must have done something to deserve the accusation. This brought unwanted attention to our family. Local news picked up the story because social media drama involving wedding accusations was apparently newsworthy. They did not use our real names, but anyone who knew us could figure out who they were talking about. The news coverage was the breaking point for Becca. She blamed me for the whole thing becoming public, even though I had nothing to do with the video being posted. She said I should have kept my mouth shut at the wedding, and then none of this would have happened. When I reminded her that I was defending myself against false accusations, she said I made the situation worse by arguing instead of just going along with the search. This led to our biggest fight yet. I asked her point blank why she had not supported me from the beginning. Her answer shocked me. She said she knows her brother, and Sebastian does not usually make accusations unless he has good reason. She admitted that for a few days after the wedding, she actually wondered if I had taken the watch and forgotten about it. I could not believe what I was hearing. My own wife had doubted my innocence. When I asked her to explain this, she said Sebastian is usually very careful with his expensive things and it seemed weird that the watch would just disappear. She thought maybe I had moved it somewhere safe and forgot where I put it. The fact that she had doubted me, even briefly, felt like a betrayal. I asked her why she had never mentioned this before, and she said she did not want to upset me while we were trying to work things out with her family. But the damage was done. She had questioned my honesty, just like her family did. Our fights started happening more frequently. Becca would get defensive whenever I brought up how her family treated me. She kept saying I was dwelling on the past and not trying to move forward. When I pointed out that moving forward required acknowledgement and apologies that never came, she accused me of being unforgiving. The final straw came 3 weeks ago during another Sunday dinner invitation. Linda had called Becca directly this time, asking when I was going to stop punishing the family for an honest mistake. Becca relayed this message to me like it was reasonable. An honest mistake. That is what they were calling it now. I told Becca I was done pretending this was some minor misunderstanding. Her family had publicly humiliated me, damaged my reputation in our community, and caused problems at my job. The fact that they found the watch later did not erase what they had done to me. Becca's response was to pack up the kids and go to her parents' house for the weekend without me. She said she needed space to think about our marriage because I was becoming bitter and resentful. She took Millie and Troy on Friday after school and did not come back until Sunday night. When she returned, she had clearly been coached by her family. She came home with this whole speech about how marriages require compromise and forgiveness. She said her parents were worried about our relationship and thought we might benefit from taking a break from each other. I asked her if she was suggesting a separation, and she said maybe some time apart would help me get perspective on what was really important. She said she could stay with her parents for a few weeks while I figured out whether I wanted to save our marriage or keep holding on to anger. The way she phrased it made it clear that she saw me as the problem. I was the one who needed to change, not her family who owed me apologies. I was the one who needed perspective, not her family who had falsely accused me of theft. That conversation happened 5 days ago. Becca packed bags for herself and the kids and moved back to her parents' house. She said it was temporary, just until I was ready to work on our marriage properly. But I know what this really is. Her family wants me gone, and she is going along with it rather than standing up for her husband. I have spoken to the kids twice since they left. Both calls were awkward because Becca was obviously listening in the background. Millie asked when Mommy and Daddy were going to live in the same house again. I did not have an answer for her. Yesterday, I got a text from Sebastian. He said he heard Becca and the kids were staying with their parents and wanted me to know that nobody in the family wanted our marriage to fail. He said if I was willing to let bygones be bygones, we could all move forward as a family. Bygones be bygones. Like he had not accused me of theft in front of 100 people. Like his father had not called me pathetic and questioned my character. Like his mother had not said I ruined his wedding day. Like my wife had not doubted my honesty and then blamed me for defending myself. I have not responded to his text, and I do not plan to. Becca can stay with her family as long as she wants. I am done begging for apologies that will never come and respect that was never there to begin with. The house is quiet now. I go to work, come home, and try to figure out how this became my life. My marriage is falling apart because I refuse to admit to a crime I did not commit. My kids are living with people who think their father is a thief. And my wife chose her family's comfort over her husband's dignity. I am meeting with a lawyer next week to discuss my options. I never thought I would be here, but Becca made her choice when she packed those bags. Update 2: I wanted to update everyone on what has been happening since Becca moved out. The situation has continued to spiral, and I have learned some things that make the whole story even worse than I originally thought. Becca and the kids have been living with her parents for almost 3 months now. We have had several conversations about reconciliation, but they all follow the same pattern. She wants me to apologize to her family for making the wedding situation bigger than it needed to be, and I refuse to apologize for defending myself against false accusations. The kids have been asking when they can come home. Millie has started having problems at school because she does not understand why her family is split up. Her teacher called me 2 weeks ago to say Millie was having trouble concentrating and had been crying during class. When I brought this up to Becca, she said Millie would adjust once we figured out our marriage. I've been seeing the kids every other weekend, which feels completely inadequate. They come to the house on Saturday morning and leave Sunday evening. Millie keeps asking why she cannot sleep in her own bed anymore, and Troy has started having tantrums when it is time to go back to Grandma's house. During one of these visits, Millie said something that made my blood run cold. She told me that Uncle Sebastian had gotten her a new toy during their last shopping trip, and when she thanked him, He said good girls deserve nice things, not like daddies who take things that do not belong to them. I immediately called Becca about this, but she said Millie must have misunderstood what Sebastian meant. She claimed he would never say something like that about me to the children. But Millie is 6 years old, and she repeated the exact words he used. There was no misunderstanding. This was the first time I realized that Becca's family was actively working to turn my children against me. I started paying closer attention to things the kids would say when they came home from their weekends with me. Troy mentioned that Grandpa Robert told him that some daddies do not know how to take care of their families properly. Millie said Grandma Linda had explained that sometimes mommies and daddies live apart when the daddy makes bad choices. These were not innocent comments. Becca's family was deliberately poisoning my children against me. When I confronted Becca about this, she became defensive and accused me of paranoia. She said her family loved the kids and would never try to turn them against their father. But she could not explain why the kids were coming home with these specific messages about bad daddies and bad choices. Our marriage counseling sessions were not going well either. The counselor kept trying to get Becca to see that her family's behavior was inappropriate, but Becca would just repeat that they were good people who made a mistake. She refused to acknowledge that publicly accusing someone of theft was more than just a mistake. During our fourth session, the counselor asked Becca directly whether she believed I had stolen the watch. Becca hesitated before answering, which told me everything I needed to know. She said she believed me now, but there was doubt in her voice. After 8 years of marriage, she still was not completely sure I was innocent. That session ended early because I walked out. I could not sit there and listen to my wife express doubt about my character while pretending we could fix our marriage. 2 weeks later, I discovered something that changed everything. I was cleaning out some old files when I found Becca's college transcripts that she had asked me to store in my desk. While putting them away, I noticed something odd about the dates. Becca had always told me she graduated in December of our senior year because she had extra credits. But according to her transcripts, she actually graduated the following spring, same as me. This seemed like a weird thing to lie about, so I started thinking about why she might have changed that detail. Then I remembered something. Becca had spent that spring semester studying abroad in Europe. She came back right before graduation and we started dating seriously that summer. But if she graduated in spring, not December, that meant she was still enrolled when she left for Europe. I called the study abroad office at our college and asked about their spring programs from our year. After some digging, they confirmed that Becca had been enrolled in a semester program in Italy. But here is the part that made my heart sink. The program was for students who were taking a break from their regular studies, not for students who had already graduated. When I confronted Becca about this discrepancy, she broke down and admitted she had lied about when she graduated. She said she had been struggling with her class's senior year and needed the extra time to finish her degree. She was embarrassed about it and thought it was easier to say she graduated early. But that was not the real bombshell. While she was confessing about the graduation lie, she also admitted something else. During her semester in Italy, she had gotten involved with someone there. It was not serious, she said, just a fling with another American student in the program. She swore it ended before she came back and that it meant nothing compared to what we had together. But she had never told me about it in 8 years of marriage. I had to find out by accident while looking through old transcripts. This revelation came at the worst possible time. I was already struggling with trust issues because of how she handled the watch situation. Now I discovered she had been lying to me about other things throughout our entire relationship. When I asked why she never told me about the guy in Italy, she said it happened before we were really serious and she did not think it mattered. But we had talked about our past relationships many times over the years, and she had always acted like I was her first serious boyfriend. The combination of her doubting me about the watch and lying about her past made me realize that I did not really know my wife at all. The person I thought I married apparently had no problem keeping secrets and questioning my honesty while hiding her own. Our next counseling session was brutal. I brought up both the Italy situation and her continued doubts about the watch. Becca broke down crying and said she never meant to hurt me. She claimed the lies were just about embarrassing things from her past that did not affect our marriage. But the counselor pointed out that trust is fundamental to marriage, and Becca had demonstrated a pattern of dishonesty and disloyalty. She had hidden important information from me while simultaneously questioning my character when her family attacked me. Becca begged me not to give up on our marriage. She said she would do anything to fix this, including standing up to her family about their treatment of me. But I told her it was too late for that. She had already shown me where her loyalties were when she moved out instead of demanding her family apologize to me. The final straw came last week when I picked up the kids from my weekend visit. Millie ran to the car and immediately started crying. When I asked what was wrong, she said Uncle Sebastian had told her that Daddy might go away forever because some daddies cannot be trusted around families. I drove straight to Becca's parents' house and confronted Sebastian in their driveway. I told him if he ever said anything about me to my children again, he would regret it. He acted innocent and said he was just trying to help the kids understand why their parents were having problems. Robert came outside and told me I had no right to come to his property and threaten his son. I said his son had no right to manipulate my children with lies about their father. Linda appeared and started crying about how I was disturbing their peaceful Sunday afternoon. Becca came running out and immediately started apologizing to her family for my behavior. She did not ask what Sebastian had said to Millie. She did not defend me against her father's accusations. She just apologized for her husband standing up for himself and his children. That was the moment I knew our marriage was truly over. Even after everything that had happened, even after months of counseling, Becca's first instinct was still to protect her family from me rather than protect me from them. I told Becca I would be filing for divorce. She begged me to wait, said we could work through this if I would just give her family another chance. But I was done giving chances to people who had proven they would never respect me or my role as a father. The divorce papers were filed 3 days ago. Becca called me crying, saying she never thought it would actually come to this. She said she loved me and wanted to save our marriage, but she could not understand why I would not forgive her family for one mistake. One mistake. Even now, she still does not get it. Her family's behavior was not a mistake. It was a deliberate pattern of disrespect and manipulation that she enabled and defended for months. I have filed for joint custody of the kids, but I am also requesting that any visitation with Becca's family be supervised until they can prove they will not continue trying to turn the children against me. My lawyer says we have a good case given the evidence about their inappropriate comments to Millie and Troy. The house feels empty, but it also feels honest. I would rather be alone than live a lie with someone who will never truly have my back when it matters. Update 3. This will be my final update on this situation. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to share how everything wrapped up for anyone who has been following this story. The custody battle was more complicated than I expected. Becca's family hired an expensive lawyer and tried to argue that I was an unfit parent because of my behavior during the wedding incident. They actually submitted the viral TikTok video as evidence that I had an anger management problem. My lawyer was prepared for this. We had documentation of all the inappropriate comments Becca's family made to the children, including Millie's statements about Uncle Sebastian telling her that some daddies cannot be trusted. We also had records of my conversations with Millie's teacher about her emotional problems since moving in with Becca's parents. The judge was not impressed with Becca's family's tactics. During the custody hearing, Robert actually tried to argue that I was a bad influence on the children because teachers do not make enough money to provide properly for families. The judge cut him off and said income level was not a factor in determining parental fitness. Sebastian also testified about the watch incident, but his story had changed from the original version. Now he claimed he never directly accused me of theft, just asked if anyone had seen his watch. But we had the video evidence of him pointing at me and yelling, so his new version did not hold up. The final custody arrangement gave me joint custody with alternating weeks. Becca was not happy about this because it meant the kids would be away from her parents' house half the time. She had gotten used to having her family help with childcare and discipline. More importantly, the judge included a provision that Becca's parents and Sebastian could only have supervised visits with the children for the first 6 months. They had to complete a co-parenting class that included sections on not disparaging the other parent before the supervision requirement would be lifted. Linda cried in the courtroom when this decision was announced. Robert looked like he wanted to argue with the judge, but his lawyer kept him quiet. Sebastian acted like the whole thing was unfair and that I was using the legal system to get revenge on their family. Becca tried to appeal the custody decision, but her lawyer advised against it. The supervised visitation requirement was actually lenient given the evidence we presented about their behavior toward the children. The first few weeks after the divorce were difficult. Millie had trouble adjusting to going back and forth between houses. She kept asking why mommy and daddy could not just live together like before. Troy was too young to understand what divorce meant, but he could sense the tension during exchanges. Becca and I tried to keep things civil for the kids' sake, but it was hard. She was still defending her family's actions and acting like I had destroyed our marriage over nothing. She would make comments about how the children miss living with their grandparents full time. Things came to a head about 6 weeks ago during one of our kid exchanges. Becca arrived at my house to pick up Millie and Troy, but instead of just getting the kids, she asked to come inside to talk. She sat on the couch where we used to watch movies together and started crying. She said she had been thinking about everything that happened and realized she had made mistakes. She asked if there was any chance we could try again, maybe with different counseling or a fresh start somewhere new. I told her it was too late for that. Trust had been broken in too many ways, and I could not forget how she chose her family over our marriage when it mattered most. She said she understood now that her family had been wrong about the watch, but she needed me to understand that they were just trying to protect her. That was the problem right there. Even in her apology, she was still making excuses for them. She still did not understand that a spouse's job is to protect their partner, not enable their family's attacks on their partner. Becca left that day knowing our marriage was truly over. She stopped asking about reconciliation after that conversation. We developed a business-like relationship focused entirely on the children's schedules and needs. The supervised visits with her family turned out to be more revealing than I expected. During the first session, the social worker observed Linda making several comments about how divorce was hard on children and how some families stay together no matter what. The social worker had to redirect the conversation multiple times. Robert barely spoke during his supervised visits. He would sit there looking angry while Millie and Troy played, occasionally making comments about how things used to be easier when families respected each other. The social worker noted his negative attitude in her reports. Sebastian was the worst during supervised visits. He kept trying to ask the kids questions about what Daddy says about Uncle Sebastian at home. When the social worker told him to stop, he acted like he was just making conversation. The kids were clearly uncomfortable with his questions. After 3 months of supervised visits, Becca's family requested a review to lift the restrictions. The social worker recommended keeping the supervision in place for the full 6 months because they had not completed the co-parenting class and continued to make inappropriate comments during visits. This decision caused a major fight between Becca and her family. She finally realized that their behavior was affecting her time with the children too, since the kids would come back from supervised visits feeling confused and upset. Becca called me after that fight with her family. She said she had told her parents and Sebastian that they needed to stop making comments about our divorce around the children. She said she was starting to understand why I had been so frustrated with their behavior. It was good to hear her say that, but it was about a year too late. If she had stood up to them from the beginning, we might have been able to work through the watch incident and save our marriage. But she had chosen their comfort over our relationship, and some damage cannot be undone. The kids have adjusted better than I expected to the new arrangement. Millie likes having her own room at both houses, and Troy enjoys having different toys and activities at each place. They still ask sometimes why mommy and daddy do not live together, but the questions are becoming less frequent. I have started dating someone new. Her name is Rachel, and she is a teacher at a different school in our district. She knows about the divorce and the circumstances that led to it. When I told her about Becca's family accusing me of theft, her immediate response was outrage on my behalf. She could not understand how a spouse would not defend their partner in that situation. It was refreshing to talk to someone who understood instinctively that the problem was not just the false accusation, but the lack of support from the person who should have had my back no matter what. Becca found out about Rachel when Millie mentioned her during a phone call. Becca was upset and asked if I was serious about this new relationship. I told her that was not her concern anymore, but that Rachel was good with the kids and respected our co-parenting arrangement. The supervised visits with Becca's family were finally lifted last month after they completed their co-parenting class. The social worker noted improvement in their behavior but recommended that Becca monitor their interactions with the children closely. Millie and Troy seem happier now that visits with their grandparents are less tense. Linda and Robert are more careful about what they say, though I can tell they still do not like me. Sebastian has been mostly avoiding the children during family gatherings, which is probably for the best. Looking back on this whole situation, I realized that the watch incident was not really about a watch at all. It was about respect, loyalty, and what happens when those things are missing from a marriage. Becca's family showed their true colors that night, and Becca showed hers by defending them instead of her husband. I am happier now than I have been in years. My relationship with my children is stronger because I am not constantly stressed about how Becca's family treats me. Rachel and I are taking things slowly, but she has already shown me what it feels like to have someone truly on your side. The divorce was painful, but it was necessary. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what you actually deserve. I deserve a partner who will stand up for me, defend me, and choose our relationship over her family's dysfunction. Becca still does not fully understand why our marriage ended. She thinks it was about stubbornness and an inability to forgive. But it was really about fundamental incompatibility in how we viewed loyalty, honesty, and partnership. I am done explaining myself to people who will never understand. My focus now is on being the best father I can be and building a life with someone who actually values what I bring to a relationship. The kids are doing well, and that is what matters most. This chapter of my life is finally closed. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My brother tried to declare me mentally unstable to steal my inheritance, but then I discovered this about his wife and now he's begging for forgiveness after losing everything. 28F, need to get this off my chest. Last year, my parents died in a tragic car accident, leaving behind a substantial inheritance to be split between me and my older brother Rob, 32M. We were always close growing up despite our 4-year age gap. Rob was the protective older brother who scared away my bullies in school, helped me with my homework, and even supported me when I decided to pursue art instead of business school like our parents wanted. I met Sarah, 31F, Rob's wife, during their college days. She seemed sweet at first, always including me in their plans and treating me like a sister. When they got married 6 years ago, I was the maid of honor. Sarah and Rob now have 2 kids, Tommy, 5, and Emma, 3. I adored my niece and nephew and would often babysit them or take them to art classes at my gallery. Our parents were successful business owners who built their wealth from scratch. They owned several commercial properties across the city, had diverse investment portfolios, and our family business, a chain of high-end furniture stores, was worth millions. The total inheritance was around $8 million, which was to be split equally between Rob and me. Rob worked as an investment banker at a prestigious firm, earning a substantial salary. I ran my own art gallery, which I started with a loan from our parents. The gallery was doing well, and I had just opened a second location when our parents passed away. After their death, I took over managing the family business since I had more flexible hours than Rob. The trouble started about 3 months ago. Sarah began showing up at my gallery unannounced, usually during closing time. She would bring coffee and act concerned about how I was coping with our parents' death. At first, I appreciated her concern. But then she started making subtle comments about money. She would mention how expensive private school was for Tommy and Emma, or how they needed a bigger house in a better school district. One time she directly said, "It must be nice to be single with no responsibilities. You can use your inheritance for anything you want." I brushed these comments off, thinking she was just stressed about their finances. Then she started questioning my business decisions. When I hired 2 new managers for our furniture stores, she told everyone I was spending money recklessly. When I donated some of our parents' old furniture to a charity, something they did regularly, she accused me of giving away family heirlooms. Sarah would often bring up how the family business should be run by Rob since he had a finance background. She ignored the fact that I had worked part-time in our parents' stores throughout college and knew the business inside out. Our parents had specifically mentioned in their will that they wanted both of us involved in running the business. The situation escalated when I received a certified letter from the court. Rob was filing for conservatorship over me, claiming I was mentally unfit to manage my inheritance. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. The brother who had always protected me was now trying to take everything away from me. His petition included evidence of my supposed mental instability. They had screenshots of text messages I sent Rob late at night saying I missed our parents and couldn't sleep. There were photos of me crying uncontrollably at the funeral. They even used a picture of me talking to our parents' portrait in my office, something I did when I needed to feel close to them. I later discovered that Sarah had been secretly recording our conversations when she visited me. She had footage of me getting emotional while going through our parents' old photos, or getting angry when discussing a difficult client. Everything was taken out of context to paint me as unstable. The worst betrayal was from Dr. Anderson, our family doctor who had known us since we were kids. Rob had convinced him to write a statement suggesting I needed psychiatric evaluation. Dr. Anderson later admitted that Rob had shown him selected videos of me grieving and claimed he was worried I might harm myself. What broke my heart was finding out that Rob had been planning this for months. He had consulted with his lawyer right after our parents' funeral, gathering evidence while pretending to be my supportive brother. All those times he checked on me, brought me food, or helped with the business, he was just building his case. I hired Amanda, a tough lawyer who specialized in estate disputes. During our investigation, we uncovered the real reason behind their scheme. Despite Rob's high salary, he and Sarah were drowning in debt. They had a massive mortgage on their house, expensive car payments, credit card debt, and hefty private school tuition fees. They had been counting on getting my share of the inheritance to bail them out. What made me furious was finding out they had already made plans for my share. They had drafted contracts to sell the family business to a competitor, something our parents had always refused to do. They had also lined up buyers for some of our parents' properties. The court proceedings were like a nightmare. Rob's lawyer tried to use my grief against me, suggesting that running an art gallery and managing the family business was too stressful for my fragile mental state. They brought up every emotional outburst, every sad text message, every tear I had shed since losing our parents. But Amanda was brilliant. She brought in a grief counselor who explained how my behavior was completely normal for someone who had suddenly lost both parents. We also had statements from my gallery employees and the furniture store managers, all testifying to my competence in running both businesses. The turning point came when Amanda obtained security footage from my gallery. It showed Sarah entering after hours using Rob's spare key, which he had from when he helped me set up the gallery. She was caught planting documents that made it look like I was mismanaging gallery funds. This proved their malicious intent. The judge was furious when he saw the evidence. He not only dismissed their case but ordered them to pay all my legal fees. He also suggested that their actions bordered on criminal conspiracy and advised me to consider pressing charges. I immediately cut all contact with Rob and Sarah. I changed the locks at my house, gallery, and all the furniture stores. I hired security guards for the gallery and installed new security systems everywhere. I also took full control of the family business, removing Rob's access to all accounts and information. Now Rob's distant relatives and family friends keep telling me I'm being too harsh. They say he was just worried about me and that siblings should forgive each other. But trying to have me declared mentally unfit just to steal my inheritance isn't something I can forgive. I've lost not just my parents, but also the brother I thought would always protect me. Update 1: I want to thank everyone who offered support on my original post. These past 3 weeks have been a roller coaster, and things have gotten even messier than before. After the court dismissed Rob's case, I thought things would calm down, but I was wrong. Rob and Sarah have started a full-blown smear campaign against me and our community. They've been going around telling everyone that I'm using our parents' death to get revenge on them. According to their twisted version of events, I was always jealous of Rob's success and Sarah's perfect family life. They're claiming I manipulated the court system and somehow bought off the judge. Sarah even told our church group that I had threatened to hurt their kids if they didn't back off, a completely fabricated lie that made me sick to my stomach. Their lies have divided our entire social circle. People I've known my whole life are now looking at me differently. Last week, I went to my favorite coffee shop, and the owner, who's known our family for years, asked me if I was doing okay mentally. It turns out Sarah had told her I was having severe mental breakdowns and destroying our parents' legacy. After the court case, I had installed security cameras in both my gallery and home, mainly because I didn't trust Sarah. My instincts were right. The cameras caught her trying to break into my gallery twice. The first time was at 2 a.m., just days after the court ruling. She used Rob's old key, not knowing I had changed the locks. The second time was during broad daylight. She actually brought a locksmith, claiming she was the owner's sister-in-law and had lost her key. When the police confronted her about these break-in attempts, she put on an Oscar-worthy performance. She broke down crying, saying she was just trying to check on me because she was so worried about my mental health. She claimed I had been sending her concerning messages, completely false. I had blocked both her and Rob on everything. The police didn't buy her act, especially after seeing the security footage, and issued her a warning. But the biggest shock came from our Aunt Clara. She's our mom's sister and has always been close to both Rob and me. She called me last week, clearly upset, and asked if we could meet. Over coffee, she revealed something that made my blood run cold. 6 months before their accident, Rob had tried to convince our parents to change their will in his favor. According to Clara, Rob had gone to our parents with a PowerPoint presentation about why he should have majority control of the family business. He claimed I was too irresponsible and artistic to handle business matters. He brought up how I had changed my college major from business to art, suggesting it showed my lack of commitment. He even had a whole slide about how having a family made him more stable and reliable. Our parents had flat out refused, telling him they trusted both of us equally and that my creative vision had actually helped modernize their furniture designs. They also reminded him that I had successfully started and expanded my gallery while helping with the family business. Clara had kept quiet about this because Mom asked her to, not wanting to cause problems between us siblings. But after seeing what Rob tried to do to me, Clara felt I needed to know the whole truth. The most recent development involves Rob's professional life. Remember how I mentioned he worked as an investment banker? Well, it turns out he had been embezzling money from his company to maintain their lavish lifestyle. During their annual audit, his employers discovered irregular transactions and launched an investigation. They found that Rob had been manipulating accounts to funnel money into his personal expenses. The company fired him immediately and is considering pressing charges. Now Rob and Sarah are facing serious financial troubles. They've had to put their $1.2 million house on the market. Their kids, Tommy and Emma, have been pulled out of their expensive private school. Sarah had to sell her designer handbag collection, and they've listed both their luxury cars for sale. The fallout has been severe. Several family members have been calling and texting me, pressuring me to help them financially. They keep saying, think about the children and Tommy and Emma shouldn't suffer for their parents' mistakes. My cousin Lisa actually suggested I should buy their house and let them live in it rent-free until they get back on their feet. These are the same people who, just weeks ago, believed Sarah's lies about my mental health without even asking for my side of the story. The same ones who gave me concerned looks at family gatherings and whispered behind my back about how unstable I seemed. Now they expect me to bail out Rob and Sarah? I'll be honest, sometimes when I think about Tommy and Emma, my heart aches. They're innocent in all this, and I love them dearly. Last week, Tommy's teacher, who's a friend of mine, told me he's been asking why he can't come to art classes at my gallery anymore. But I know I can't help them without enabling Rob and Sarah's behavior. They need to face the consequences of their actions. My gallery is doing better than ever, and the family business is thriving under my management. I've maintained my distance from Rob and Sarah, focusing instead on honoring our parents' legacy through hard work and honest business practices. Some people might think I'm being cold-hearted, but I believe I'm doing the right thing by standing my ground. I've learned that sometimes the people who should love and protect you the most are the ones capable of causing the greatest harm. But I've also learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. I won't let their attempts to destroy me succeed. Update 2: the situation with Rob and Sarah has taken a completely unexpected turn. Last week, Sarah reached out to me through a burner email account, asking to meet privately. She claimed she had important information I needed to know. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her in a public cafe, but I brought my lawyer Amanda with me just to be safe. What Sarah revealed during our meeting left both me and Amanda stunned. The whole scheme to have me declared mentally unfit wasn't Rob's idea at all, it was Sarah's from start to finish. She broke down crying, admitting that she had manipulated Rob into going along with her plan by showing him their mounting debts and playing on his fears about their children's future. The truth is far worse than I imagined. Sarah confessed they're over $2 million in debt, but not because of their lavish lifestyle like we all thought. Sarah has a severe gambling addiction that she's managed to hide for years. She had been gambling away their savings and taking out loans in Rob's name. She even admitted to stealing and selling some of my mother's jewelry that Rob had kept for sentimental value. Her addiction started small, online poker games while the kids were napping. But it escalated quickly. She began visiting casinos while claiming to be at yoga classes or mom group meetings. She maxed out their credit cards and opened new ones in Rob's name. When that wasn't enough, she took out personal loans using forged documents with Rob's signature. Rob apparently only discovered the full extent of their debt when his company's investigation revealed everything. The embezzlement I mentioned in my last update? That was actually Sarah too. She had figured out Rob's work passwords and had been transferring company funds to cover her gambling losses. Rob had no idea until the company confronted him with evidence. Sarah's confession didn't stop there. She admitted to being the one who spent months gathering evidence of my supposed mental instability. She was the one who edited our conversations to make me sound unstable. She even deliberately provoked me into emotional reactions so she could record them. The whole thing about me threatening their kids? She made that up because she knew it would turn people against me. The most shocking part was learning that Sarah had been planning this even before our parents died. She had already consulted with a lawyer about ways to contest the will, assuming our parents would leave everything to Rob since he was the oldest. When she found out about the equal split, she started working on the mental instability angle. Rob has now filed for divorce after discovering Sarah's deception. He tried to contact me through our cousin Jane, sending a long letter explaining his side of things. According to him, he only went along with Sarah's plan because she convinced him I was having a mental breakdown and needed intervention. She had shown him heavily edited videos of me grieving, making it look like I was talking to myself and acting erratically. He claims he genuinely believed he was trying to protect both me and our parents' legacy. He wrote about how Sarah would come home crying, telling him she was worried I might hurt myself. She apparently told him the conservatorship was the only way to ensure I got the help I needed while protecting the family assets. Part of me wants to believe him. The brother I grew up with would never willingly hurt me like this. But another part of me knows that whether he was manipulated or not, he still chose to try to have his own sister declared mentally unfit. He still sat in that courtroom while his lawyer tried to destroy my reputation. He still watched me suffer and said nothing. Sarah is now facing criminal charges for the embezzlement and fraud. She's looking at significant jail time, and Rob has filed for full custody of their children. She's begging me not to press charges for the break-in attempts at my gallery, saying she needs to be there for her kids. But after everything she's done, I can't find it in my heart to show her mercy. Rob keeps trying to apologize, saying he'll spend the rest of his life making it up to me. He's offered to sign away any claim to our parents' business and properties. He says he doesn't care about the money anymore, he just wants his sister back. But I'm not sure there's any coming back from this kind of betrayal. The hardest part is knowing that Tommy and Emma are caught in the middle of all this. They're too young to understand why their family is falling apart. Rob has asked if they can still come to art classes at my gallery, saying they miss their aunt. But I'm not ready for that. The wound is still too fresh. Update 3: These past 6 months have given me complete clarity about the whole situation. A lot has happened since my last update, and I want to share where things stand now. Rob and Sarah's divorce was finalized last month. Sarah pleaded guilty to fraud and embezzlement charges. She received a 3-year prison sentence but will likely serve only 18 months with good behavior. She moved to Arizona to live with her sister after making a deal with Rob. She gave up custody of the kids in exchange for him not pressing additional charges about the loans she took in his name. Rob lost their house and most of his assets paying off the gambling debts and legal fees. He's now living in a small 2-bedroom apartment across town with Tommy and Emma. He managed to find a job as a junior analyst at a smaller firm, making about a third of what he used to earn. His reputation in the financial sector is pretty much destroyed, and he's lucky to even have this job. He hasn't stopped trying to reconcile. Every month, like clockwork, he sends handwritten letters talking about how much he regrets his actions and how he misses his little sister. Last week, he even sent our old childhood photos and the friendship bracelet I made him when I was 10. He's also been sending Tommy and Emma's art projects and school reports, probably hoping to soften my heart through the kids. Some of his letters actually made me cry. He wrote about how he lies awake at night thinking about how he betrayed me, how he let Sarah manipulate him into hurting the one person who had always looked up to him. He mentioned specific memories, like when he taught me to ride a bike, or when he stayed up all night helping me finish my art school application. But then I remember how he sat in that courtroom, trying to take everything away from me, and my heart hardens again. The family business has grown significantly under my sole management. I've opened 3 new furniture stores and modernized our entire inventory system. The profits are up by 40% compared to last year. My art gallery has also expanded. I now have 4 locations across the city and am planning to open 2 more next year. Our extended family is still divided over the situation. Aunt Clara and a few others stand firmly by my decision to maintain distance. They've seen firsthand how much Rob's betrayal affected me and respect my need for space. But others, especially the older generation, keep pushing for reconciliation. They bring up Rob at every family gathering, talking about how well he's doing as a single dad and how much he's changed. Last month, I ran into Tommy at the mall. He's now 6 and looks so much like Rob did at that age. He saw me first and ran over, asking why I don't come to see them anymore. It broke my heart, but I managed to have a brief, friendly conversation before excusing myself. That night, Rob sent another emotional email about how Tommy came home crying because he missed his aunt. I'll admit, sometimes I miss the brother I thought I had. I miss being an aunt to Tommy and Emma. I miss the family dinners and weekend gatherings. But then I remember the security footage of Sarah breaking into my gallery, the court documents declaring me mentally unstable, the whispers and stares from people who believe their lies. Some betrayals cut too deep to heal. People tell me family should always forgive, that holding on to anger only hurts myself. Maybe they're right. But trying to have me declared mentally unfit, attempting to steal my inheritance, and destroying my reputation in the community, these aren't small mistakes that deserve easy forgiveness. Sometimes protecting your peace means keeping toxic people out of your life, even if they're family. I'm sharing this final update to close this chapter of my life. My businesses are thriving, I've built a strong circle of trusted friends, and I've found peace in my decision. Sometimes the family you choose is more important than the one you're born into.